Well, hi, everyone. This is Naomi Tucker with Planners on Purpose. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. For those that are here now and those that are coming on the replay, I'm excited to be here today. This is the Planners on Purpose book club, and this book club is really all about bringing planners together through the common bond of reading and becoming lifelong learners. So I really believe that lifelong learners is just one step to being a planner on purpose. So you're growing and you're adapting and you're creating purposeful connections and gatherings in your life. So that is the whole reason for book club. And the whole reason why I do this each and every month. And I'm excited because speaking of gathering, we are talking about The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. And that is our book club book of the month. So here it is, The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. And we'll be discussing Priya's book. It was a wonderful read, and I'm going to share a couple of the thoughts that I had, and then also would love to be able to hear from you on what your thoughts were. So for those of you that are with me, I would love to hear about you and hear about who you are. Definitely say hello in the chat. I would love to acknowledge you and to be able to say hello. So definitely go ahead and put your name in the comments, or just say, hey, here, my name is, Nicole, and I'm from Florida and happy to be here. Whatever you like to put in the chat, would love for you to go ahead and do that. And then also, if you are a replay listener or if you're live, definitely go ahead and do like a hashtag replay or hashtag live. That way I know when you were listening. I know there are several of you that aren't able to make it tonight live, but you love to go back and listen to some of the replays. So definitely want to be able to acknowledge you when you come. Definitely, regardless if you are here live or on the replay, leave comments and engage. This is a book club not only for just for this community. So I would love it if you would go ahead and engage with me and let me know what is going on. So this was a very, very engaging book. I really enjoyed it, and I am excited to actually talk about it because many of the times on the Planners on Purpose book club, we do have more of nonfiction books that we talk through, more self-help books, professional development books. And this one was that, but it really centered around gathering, which is really what we do in the planner world, in the event planning world. So it was a really amazing book to really step through. And I really enjoyed Priya's intentional thought behind the book and all of the different little nuggets of wisdom that she shared and ideas. There are so many ideas in this book that definitely you have to read it to capture all the ideas. We don't have nearly as much time today to be able to really speak to some of that. But again, I am happy that you're here. Go ahead and put a shout out in the comments and let me know that you're here. And just to start off, I would love to know, what did you think about The Art of Gathering? What was your overall thoughts? For those of you, there's always a small contingent of people that are like, oh my gosh, I haven't read the book, or I don't want to come because I haven't read the book. You are absolutely welcome. I can't tell you how many book clubs that I've been a part of that I haven't read the books. And don't tell anyone, here's a secret. Sometimes I'm struggling to read the book down to the very last second when I come on book club. So I get it. I understand. We don't have a ton of time, but definitely love the fact that we can get together and we can have some of these intentional conversations about the book. So amazing, amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you. I would love to, again, hear, what do you think about The Art of Gathering? Like I mentioned, I have a few thoughts that I wrote down, and I am going to share them with you. I also am going to invite you to come on live with me on the screen. So if you definitely are on Facebook, I would love it if you could come on live. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat for you so that you're able to see it. And if you would like to come on live and just share your comments live, I would love to have you. Let's have a conversation. Okay. So Let's jump in. First off, before I do that, I just want to give a quick shout out to anywhere that you're listening. I know that sometimes we have more people on YouTube than we do on Facebook coming to the book club. So I just appreciate you no matter what platform that you are coming on, that you're here. So for those of you that do not know, Planners on Purpose, when we stream, we have a Facebook page. We do have a Facebook community, which is the Planners on Purpose Facebook community. And we also have a YouTube page. So you can catch us at any one of those locations for this event. So that makes it really nice as well. So again, we are talking about the art of gathering. I have all my little Post-it notes in here ready to share with you. And I hope that you're ready to share with me, regardless if you've read this book or if you haven't. Okay, perfect. So again, what did you think about the art of gathering? And I already told you my thoughts. I really felt like it was a very purposeful book. Obviously written. Priya definitely has such a distinguished style and has taught a lot, has been involved with gathering people everywhere, been a part of gatherings, and then also she has facilitated gatherings herself. So it was really great to be able to hear some of her stories and some of the stories of those that she's connected to. And it really was insightful, but it also really shined a light on what planners deal with as well in event planning. So the book really started off by sharing kind of the three distinguishing kind of characteristics, of a sharp and bold, meaningful gatherings. And if you see me looking down, I do have some notes because I need my notes. And I just wanted to make sure that I don't miss anything that I have to share with you. So there are three ingredients for a sharp and bold, meaningful gathering that Priya mentioned in her book. So the first one was specificity. She talked more about the more focused your gathering is, the more you narrow down and frame the gathering on what its unique purpose is. That is where the passion ignites behind your event. So making sure that we don't have too many purposes, that that you're not kind of scattering all your purposes into one event. Have a very defined purpose about your gathering so that you are able to really ignite the passion behind it and filter everything through that lens. So specificity is the first ingredient for a sharp and bold gathering. So number two was making sure that your event has uniqueness behind it. So uniqueness was another ingredient that she mentioned. And really, how does your event or your meeting or virtual event, how does it set itself apart from all of the other events that are out there? So you want to make sure that you're standing apart from the rest and that your part is uniquely yours. We all know that there's meetings and dinners and conferences. How is it unique from other meetings and dinners and conferences out there? And that's really what you would need to focus on when it comes to your event. So number three is that your event needs to have a disputable purpose. So this disputable purpose is really what you're going to filter everything through, where all of your decisions are made through this decision filter. So it really confirms why you're having the event, and it really puts the energy behind the meaning of that event for you. So if you know you wanted to get people there to make meaningful connections, then all of the decisions that you're looking to make for your event needs to go through that filter of connection. And really everything else has to fall by the wayside in order for you to put energy behind the purpose for your attendees to be able to see the meaning behind your purpose as well. So those were the three ingredients that Priya mentioned that is going to drive sharp, bold, and meaningful gatherings. And I would love to know what you think about those ingredients. Do you agree with them, or don't you agree with them? So hi, Kelly. Kelly is here. Kelly is a wonderful coach and mentor. She is excited. Says she's excited to catch me live. and she hasn't read the book, but I'm excited that you are here. So thank you so much, Kaylee, for being here. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Amazing. Okay. So we talked about those 3 ingredients in order to build a very insightful, bold, sharp, meaningful gathering. So that's uniqueness, that's, let me start over. That's specificity, uniqueness, and it is disputable purpose. So write those down. So even for those that may had not read the book, those are 3 valuable tips, making sure that you're standing out from amongst the rest. Okay. So what I also felt was very just beneficial for this particular book is that we really talked about purpose. She talked about purpose in this book a lot. And that should be really what you say to yourself when you're putting any type of event together, whether it's an event for your business or it's an event for, for yourself. You want to ask yourself, well, why am I gathering? Okay, why am I doing this? Right? And you have to really force yourself to challenge those assumptions of why you're doing it and continue to ask yourself why. I loved her bringing this up in the book. Continue to ask yourself, why do I want to bring everyone together? And why is that important? And continue asking yourself why, so that you get down to your belief. And what that does is it helps you to challenge what your assumptions are about that particular event. Now, many of us have other clients perhaps that we're planning events for. The event isn't solely ours, but we are probably hired on or kind of given the responsibility to be able to put this event on. And that also then becomes a responsibility of ours to really focus on that purpose and say, why is my client doing this? Or why is my leader doing this event? And really tapping into that, asking those key questions so you get down to that basic belief. Okay. So that is another very huge tip that I really enjoyed and I loved about the book. So, and I must say that she did mention about, typically when you're going about an event, you usually have preconceived notions on how an event is or what, how it's supposed to be conducted. So if you're doing a webinar, there's a specific way that people are managing webinars. If you're doing an industry event, there's a specific way that industry events are done. So try to challenge yourself by not always taking on the templates. Templates are amazing and it's great because you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but then also making sure that you're starting through that purpose first. Always put purpose first with your events so that you are then, filtering those templates through your purpose, but not just, hey, saying that it's going to be a board dinner and then just treating it as such. There might be a different purpose behind that board dinner that you really need to know so that you can make the specific plans in place for that board dinner to be successful. Okay. So that was a really great, meaningful tip that Priya also had. All right. So, and I just want to say that sometimes you can use events and gatherings in order to change things up. I know that for my team that I work with, typically sometimes going through your weekly meetings it's just really not enough, and you need to really renew your purpose. Figure out, okay, what are these meetings for? Are these meetings useful? Is there a way that I can add more purpose into these meetings in order for them to be more fulfilling for the team or for the business? So I know sometimes for my team, we'll do virtual gatherings. We'll do just virtual gatherings where we don't even have to talk about work. I think it's like a virtual happy hour. We'll also do games. We'll also do, book clubs. I even had a book club at work where we really gathered around a book that we all enjoyed, and really it helped us to just open up with each other more. So really think about gatherings in terms of that too, and using gatherings in order to help with what your purpose is. Okay, so great. So Thank you. All right. And Keely says, I really like the recommendations of running your event through those 3 values. Thank you so much, Keely. Okay. Awesome. So we are going to continue to go on. Again, if you have anything that you would like to mention or say, definitely put that in the chat. I would love to just hear what your thoughts are about Priya's book and her book of work. Another very exciting, I guess, takeaway was her talk about rituals and talk about ritualized gatherings. So when you think about this, you think about perhaps your wedding, you think about perhaps being in a courtroom of some sort and going through this ceremony type of process. There are so many gatherings that end up defaulting to the ritualized view of them. That really can destroy what the ultimate purpose is. So, think of that. I know there are several different examples in the book that Priya did mention, especially when talking about teams and talking about how they conducted certain meetings and how those meetings had a ritualization, I guess, about them that made them focus too much on the ritual than what the purpose is for that event. So for weddings, sometimes you get caught up in the fact that, hey, this is a ceremony. I need to have the guest list. I need to have all of the people there. But really, this is really my covenant between me and this other person. So what is the purpose? What is the important thing to you? And then making sure that you're filtering your lens through that. So I would love to know from you, have you ever been caught up in these ritualized gatherings? And what ritualized gathering was it? What was it for you that really thwarted the event because of what the expectations were on, let's say, a particular gathering? For me, it was wedding ceremonies. I wanted to always, kind of go off and get married and just anybody that can come. I'm going to an island with water by it, or, just an island. And that's what I wanted to do. But then obviously there's the ceremonies, the expectations that others can put on that really kind of help, that thwart that purpose a bit. Okay. All right, so we'll keep on going. Again, if you are here and you just made it here, I see a few more people coming on the YouTube side. So I just wanted to say hello. We are here talking about The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker, and really just going through this book. I'm sharing some of my tips and highlights, and I would love to hear what yours are. So go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Let me know if there is anything about either what I'm saying resonates or what you read that resonates, and would love to continue to have a conversation. So what type of events are you planning either in your business, or are you planning on your own? Perhaps you're just, planning a small gathering or a dinner. What events is on your radar right now that you are planning? And how can this help you to be able to be more purposeful? So would love to hear more about what that is for you. Okay. So I wanted to really talk about the purpose and about the why, because Priya, in a section of her book, really talks about this. So in order to determine the purpose, you really have to zoom out and think about what the big picture is for your event. So, and when you do find what that is, you then, number 2, because there's 3 little parts to this, is you need to drill. She says, drill, baby, drill. So you need to continue to ask why until you hit a belief or value, right? So we talked a little bit about this earlier. And then number 3 is that you reverse engineer the outcome. So what is going to be different because you gathered and because you worked on that particular, or you work from that outcome? What's going to be different from the people that are coming there? What are they going to experience that is different because you are basically working from your purpose? And that really helps you to understand what your why is and understand what your purpose is, because your purpose is really equivalent to that why. So for those of you that have the book, on page 26, she offered up a few examples about that, especially some events that have particular purpose behind them. And it really helps you to formulate what the new purpose would be based off of you drilling it down and you reverse engineering that outcome. So for those of you that might be challenged with how do I figure out what my purpose is for this event? Or, I want to do an event, or I want to gather people in my business. How do I do that? Definitely zoom out, think of the big picture, then drill down, ask yourself why until you can't anymore, and until you hit a belief or value, and then reverse engineer the outcome and say, what's going to be different because I did this? So those are 3 additional tips for you to find your purpose for events. Okay. Now, some of you, and I know I work with clients like this too, right? Because sometimes there are all these different purposes. People want to make a good impression on their clients. They want to make sure this person signs the deal. They want to make sure that they highlight their recent projects. Everything is a purpose within their events. And in Priya's book, she says that no gathering can serve all of those purposes at once. Okay, so many purposes aren't going to be effective for your event. So it's important for you to know that, because if you are working with a client that does have multiple purposes, there's a purpose to be in a certain location, and then there's a purpose to bring everybody together and to connect, but then there's a purpose for leadership to go off and do this and that. You probably would want to really filter it through that one central purpose, so for your event to be ultimately successful. Okay, so that is a piece of advice that Priya definitely was very intent on sharing in her book. And I certainly hope that helps you. Okay, so then the book really moves on to 3 essential parts. It moves on to the who, and it moves on to where, and it also moves on to being a host in the close, right? So those are all the different components of an event that she really wanted to focus on. And I just wanted to share what my thoughts are really quick about all of those different components. And I see several more of you joining, so welcome to the book club. Definitely would love to hear from you on the event, and not on the event, but on this book. If you read it, if you didn't, go ahead and put it in the chat and let me know. So Keely says, I'm thinking about hosting a retreat in the future. That's really helpful to think about the real purpose and why she wants to host a retreat. Yes. Thank you. And it's really important too. Retreats are very intimate gatherings, and really they're inspiring. So really thinking about what the purpose is and what you want to see from that event is going to be very, very beneficial for you. So continuing to ask yourself that why is going to be very helpful for you to determine what your ultimate purpose is for your event. Great, thank you. Okay, so we're talking about the who. So the who is who's invited to your event, and how can you be purposeful about that? And I really enjoyed this part because I feel like for some clients that we may have, especially in the event industry, we go through a lot of this invitation process that can be very tough to figure out who is invited. And Priya also says that this is a test of a robust gathering purpose. You should have a robust gathering purpose. And you have to have courage. You have to have courage when you are inviting people, because your invitation list, guess what? It's also going to be filtered through that purpose lens. So you have to be reliant on that, and you have to filter everything through your gathering, and you have to let the chips fall where they may. So if this event is supposed to be if you have an event and it's supposed to be for your close clients coming into a retreat, then it has to be those close clients coming into a retreat. And we need to let the chips fall where they may when it comes to that, because really that's going to be your ultimate goal. You want to hear from those people. You want to get insights and value from those people in the role that they are. So it's very important that you focus on exactly who you would like to come. So, and in many other senses, most people say, okay, it's your ideal audience, or it's your, your ideal client, or just who is going to be sitting in the chair. Who are you speaking to? Who's your event speaking to? And you need to really whittle that through your purpose and figure that out. And she also talked about this close the door concept. Like, you need to learn how to close the door. And it's a metaphorically, because I know for event planners, we know when to close those ballroom doors, right? But you have to know with the invitation process too, when to close the door. And I can't tell you how many clients have, they are looking for a certain amount of people. So they continue to invite and invite and invite more people that probably are very far from what their ideal person was for that event. Has anybody been in that situation? Is it just me? But that happens. And it's really important for us to remind of our purpose, remind our clients of our purpose, and to make that decision to close the door. It's very, very important. So this happens a lot in the event industry for sure. Okay. And then you need to know when to, I guess, close the door on or exclude. So the book also talks about good exclusion. And I felt that was very interesting and meaningful. She talks about this character in her book called Bob. Has anybody ever had a Bob at their event? It is when someone comes to your event that threatens the gathering's purpose. Okay, so you have someone that, either poking holes, or they're kind of an outlier in a not so good way. And she calls this character a Bob in your event. So I wonder who's ever had a Bob in their event. But sometimes that person can effectively threaten your meeting. And so you also need to know when to exclude that Bob in the invitation process, as well as Bob starts to show up when you're at your event as well. Okay, so it's very important to be intentional, to be that host that is able to really have good exclusion. Okay. And many people will say, well, oh my gosh, well, if you're excluding, then how does that really support diversity? And Priya also talks about that too. And she says that good exclusion activates diversity, and diversity is just a potentiality that needs to be activated. So she truly believes that if you have a generous exclusion, that a gathering is going to allow diversity to be heightened, and it will allow it to be sharpened rather than diluted by just a hodgepodge of people, right? So again, your list still has to be purposeful. Yes, we all want it to be diverse, but if you want one of your purposes to be diverse, then that needs to be your purpose at the very beginning too. So we just need to really make sure that we're having the right people at the table and at that gathering, and practicing good exclusion rather just than diluting it all and just bringing in people. So I thought that was a really great conversation, because that happens a lot. We always try to make sure that we're, inclusive and that we're diverse, but then also you don't want to dilute your audience to the fact that you don't have the right audience there. So it is a teeter-totter, but definitely has to be practiced in order for you to be able to have a purposeful invitation list. Okay. So I'm just looking at some of the comments though. So Keely says, don't invite Bob. Yes, you're right. Do not invite Bob. We don't want Bob to be at the event for sure. And sometimes Bob shows up at your event, right? Bob shows up. I know Keely says she had a Bob probably show up at her wedding. I had a Bob show up at my wedding too. And that happened to be the best man kind of turned into a Bob towards the end. Just tip, but that's kind of sometimes that happens. So what do you do then, right? What do you do when the Bob comes to your event? And in the book, Priya also talks about just being a generous host, right? Finding ways to be able to set those boundaries, but then also be able to, show that Bob or that person kind of what those boundaries are in a nice way, giving them grace, but then also showing them the boundaries. And it is an art to be able to do and to be able to practice. But your host of the event, or if you're a host yourself, has to be able to have those conversations with those guests so that all guests know kind of what the lay of the land is and to what to expect. Because sometimes those Bobs end up just thwarting the whole event. I have seen that happen, where you're sitting at an event and perhaps someone's not, the service isn't accurate. And let's say before the host is able to speak to that challenge, other people start to stir things up, right? And it really just thwarts the taste. There's a bad taste in your mouth about that event. So things like this, they do happen, and it's really important to take a careful approach, have that be a generous host, being able to set those boundaries, but then also deliver the message that you need to deliver. So another thing about the Who is some really great just breakdowns that Priya had in her book in terms of sizing on events. And I know with event planners, we have a lot of different other metrics that we score this with, but it's interesting to hear some of the characteristics of the sizes of the events within Priya's book. So she just mentions that if you really want to make a tight connection, you really want high levels of sharing and storytelling, you might want to really stick with small groups of 6, right? If you get more out of the 6 to 8 range, you end up having more diversity of opinion. So if you're in a group of like more 12 to 15, that's a group that really helps you with diversity of opinion. But then it's also one of those milestone areas that Priya says where problems tend to arise. So she said, especially in organizations, if you are a business owner and let's say you're growing and all of a sudden you have like 12 people, you might be understanding that you're starting to have some problems. You're starting to have some conflicts, diversity of opinion, and it's really a challenging time for your organization. So she says, hey, just perhaps have small groups of 6, understand what the challenges of a group from 12 to 15 will be, and making sure that you have a facilitator or you have a moderator, someone there that's able to moderate the discussion and to really funnel and push that energy. And as you continue to grow in size, add those moderators and add those facilitators and people to be able to help with that discussion. Groups of 30, she said, is like a party. So if you have a group of 30, it's like a party. You have energy, you have buzz, and that you need in order to hold there. So groups of 30 is just really, hey, everyone's there. There's that energy and there's that buzz that's needed for that gathering. And then for a larger event, groups of 150 are typically the standard that most events are happening in. It's a very great number for intimacy, trust, and at a larger level. People that are in a room can see everyone. Potentially everyone can meet everyone by the end of that event. If it's 150 people, it's really a nice size. After you get higher than that, Priya says that, hey, there's not so much intimacy. So that's probably more an organization trying to tap into more of the energy of a bigger crowd. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your gatherings as well. Just making sure that you're being purposeful about how they are being planned. The where. Many of us know, I'm not going to go through like event planning 101 here, but some of the important reasons that I really enjoyed the where, or where you hold your event, like the venue, is that you have to use your purpose filter first. So again, understanding what your purpose is and finding out what your venue is based off of that purpose. And we've seen it in many ways that people or clients, they say, oh, somebody offered me, you know, a discount at this property, so we're going to book that property. Or the traffic is so much better at that property. Or, you know, I really like the spa. We need to go to this property because of the spa. Okay. So I would probably want to go to that property because of the spa, but that's probably not your purpose. So really looking at your purpose, finding how you can look at the venue through that lens of purpose. And everything that obviously does not fit that, you do have to let it fall by the wayside. I had an event that I was a part of that this gentleman who is a client, loved this client because they allowed us to just really do what we do best. But he was very, very particular in the setting and in the purpose, very particular to let us know what the purpose of this meeting is, what he wants to see, the connections that need to be made. And then when we went through that process of finding a venue, it was a very long process, but it was necessary. We searched many places. There had to be places that were intimate enough, but then large enough. And sometimes it's really hard to find that. But we did. And when we did, it was just golden, and everything just really fueled through his purpose. And I truly believe that that is the reason why his events were so successful. Everyone that came there, they just enjoyed it. Everything flowed smoothly, probably thanks to like the planners behind it, but it flowed really smoothly because he designed it for his purpose. He made his vision known, and everyone that was involved with that event helped make sure that it happened. So it's just a story to kind of let you know that that it is really important to make sure that you put your purpose first. And many of you may be saying, oh, what about within digital platforms? You know, there are so many digital platforms now that you have to pay attention to, and you need to know what those platforms are, right? In order to help you have the best experience possible on that particular platform. So many of you know when you go to a Zoom meeting, what that Zoom is going to be about, especially if it's a webinar or if it's a meeting, or perhaps you're going to a meeting that has social, or you're going to an event on Clubhouse or somewhere else like Cvent, Attendee Hub, Meeting Play, whatever the platform is. If you go to a lot of these programs, you know, oh, okay, this is how that program is designed. Maybe I don't have the chat feature here, or maybe it's expected for me to put on my my camera here. There is some expectation in certain venues, whether they be a physical venue or a digital one. So understanding what those purposes are with the platform and really filtering, putting your purpose on top of that, is going to help you provide a best way for you to actually have a proper tech stack for your particular program. Okay, awesome. So let us see what y'all are saying. Oh, okay. Kelly is saying, oh no, and I'm pretty sure that's probably because I mentioned about the whole best man thing. So yes, that was not so good for a moment, but then you know, as the host, we had to kind of shut that down a little bit. So awesome. Great. So again, I would love to hear what you all think about this so far. What do you think about venue? How has venue trumped you in the past with your purpose? And how are you going to think of venues differently now that you've heard some of these points that were elaborated from the book? Okay. So the last one is don't be a chill host. And we talked a little bit about this before, is as a host, there is a certain responsibility to being a host. And you need to know kind of what that responsibility is and be able to speak and set boundaries as you are able to, or as you need to. Sorry, I had to adjust my chair there. But you need to be able to know how to be that proper host if you are hosting the event, and guide your clients if you aren't the ultimate host, to understand how they need to really lead and host generously. So again, and this comes down to 3 components. So I'm going to give you another 3 that is mentioned in the book. So number 1 is to protect your guest. So you want to be able to protect your guests, no matter if they're coming, in person, if they're digital, if you're hybrid, however you have your attendees attending your event, they are your guests, and we need to protect them and protect how they show up at your event. Also, you have to be able to equalize your guests. Usually, when you come to events and things, the titles and those type of things, they don't matter. People do have to drop their titles at the door, and really, as a host, you have to equalize them to the common purpose for that event. It's like they enter into this alternate world where you are hosting them and helping them and ushering them through this particular experience. Okay. You also have to connect with your guests. That's the number 3. Make sure that you're connecting with them, connecting not only with them as a host, but also making sure that they're connected to others too. One of the many reasons that people do come to events, when you do see, I think it was Swap Card that put out a particular stat, and it just says that no matter which way you cut it, people go to events to network, right? That's one of the top reasons why people go to events. They want to network with others. So as a host, that is something that is kind of embedded in your purpose, for you to connect people to others that they need to be connected to for the reasons that you feel would be, I guess, beneficial for them. So make sure that you're doing that. Okay. Priya says that protecting your guests is anticipating and intercepting people's tendencies when they're not considering the betterment of the whole group, right? So if what your attendees are doing, or if there's a Bob that's there, if it's not for the betterment of the whole group, then you probably need to make sure that you're intercepting what those tendencies are for the betterment of the group. And that's why you're being generous. You're helping everyone else that's at your event to not have to suffer in a way from what this one person is doing. So that is something that you could do. And it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be fierce, but it definitely has to draw the line and protect that group's experience. Okay. Equalizing your guests ensures that they leave their title at the door. So they just need to leave their title at the door, because there can be these power dynamics that do come up in different events. And sometimes that can implicate the gathering if that is not the sole purpose, right, of that gathering. And as I mentioned, connections, again, they don't happen on their own. You have to be intentional. You have to make sure people are comfortable, and you have to make sure that you're connecting conversations in a way that's going to grow or spurt conversational growth. Okay. So those are like my tips. There's so many other opportunities in this book to really talk about, but I would love to hear what has resonated with you so far. Okay. So what has resonated with you so far with the Art of Gathering book? For those of you that have not picked this up, I suggest that you pick it up and read it and really keep it. I think it's a really great book to just keep on your bookshelf for you to kind of reference if you are wanting to be more purposeful about your events. So I would love it if you would go ahead and do that. I, again, have gotten so many I could keep going on and keep talking about this book. But I know your time is valuable. But again, if there's anything that you would like to talk about, or if you would like to join me, definitely go ahead and use that invite link, or share with me in the chat what you felt resonated with you. I do want to also mention that just as a takeaway, 90% of what makes a successful gathering is what's put in place beforehand. And Priya said that in the book, right? So when we talk about planning, it's ever so important to plan, to not rush through the planning, to have enough lead time, to make sure that we are communicating what we need to communicate to all of the attendees, and that we're bonding them to what that purpose is and what is happening in that event. So there are some tips that she had. She says that, make sure that you're showing up beforehand, putting those plans in place. Make sure that they understand that gathering is a social contract, and that you're priming your audience throughout this invitation process, or the awaiting process for them to come to your event. You're priming them to have this experience or to get ready. So if there's any videos that you need to show them, if there's any encouragement words that you need to do, if there's another gathering that you need to have before this one to make sure that they are prepared for that event, though, that's what we're doing all in place beforehand, so that they know what to expect and then they know how to show up. Okay. And while they're there, have a warm opening for them, honor and acknowledge your guests, awe them, show them why your event is unique to you and to your business. And you could do that in many ways. Fuse them to your event. Show them why they're there. Give them a pledge. Give them a theme. Show them how they're going to be bonded to that event, and that they will remember that event for a very long time. And then again, at the very last thing is that definitely close your event really well. And some people forget about this. They are saying, oh my gosh, I don't care about closing. We'll just let everyone go on the last day. No, don't skip the closing. Find a purposeful way to close your gathering and ensure that it was time well spent. Share what the meaningful moments were about that event, and then connect that to the audience, and then allow them to depart just feeling really fulfilled about your program. So again, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to share a link with you because next month in July, we have another book that we are actually going to be going through. And that book is going to be Engaging Virtual Meetings with John Chin. And John is actually going to be here with us for book club, and going to be hanging out, and just showing us how to engage with virtual meetings. I really love John and everything that he's doing. I remember getting one of his first books. So he's been really writing books about virtual meetings and how to engage for a long time. So I'm excited to be able to have him as the author of Engaging Virtual Meetings for our next book club book. So definitely, please grab your copy if you have not grabbed it. I do have a link that I'll share where you can actually get a signed copy of this book by John, and he will send it to you at a very reasonable cost. So it's always awesome if you can get the book directly from the author. So I will leave that link for you if you want to go ahead and register. And then if you would like the book to be sent to you right away, John will do that for you. And then he will be here on Wednesday, July 7th, and really helping us talk about engaging virtual meetings. How do we do it? How do we engage virtually? How do we spice things up? Virtual meetings and hybrid meetings is not going to go away. It's here to stay. Now that we know that it's more of an option, and some of the tools that have been created, it's going to be awesome to be able to just figure out how we are going to utilize this and teach others to utilize it in a way that's going to be very, 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 very helpful. So thank you, Kelly. She says, this is so good. I'm a professional planner, but I'm getting this book for my events and events, personal and professional ones. Yes, grab it. It's going to be good. Definitely grab Priya's book. And if you would like to come to July's event, definitely grab John's book. Like I said, he will go ahead and and send that book over to you. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. And then if those of you that follow on Facebook, you'll also see an event coming out with that particular book club as well. So you can go ahead and register through there. So again, I think that is all. This has been really exciting. Thank you so much for being there, hanging out, everyone on Facebook, everybody on YouTube. Again, I really enjoyed this book, in particular, The Art of Gathering, because it just helps us continue to think about how we can be purposeful and how we plan our events. It sparked ideas with me, and it gave courage on some of the things I can do as a planner. So I'm really hoping that it did that for you. And again, book club is all about bringing planners together through that common bond of reading and becoming lifelong learners. If you plan events for your business, if you plan events professionally, definitely this book club is going to help you to become a planner on purpose, where you're always growing, you're always adapting, and you create purposeful connections in gatherings in your life. So again, thank you for being a part of it. I truly hope that I see you on July 7th for engaging virtual meetings, where we'll have John Chin here. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you all.